Hi, my name is Darren Coyne, Project Manager at the Care Leavers Association. This video, which has been made by young people that have grown up in care, interviewing some older people that have come through the care system and applied for the files, is an important part of this conference. The title of the film actually is My Life, My History, and that's what it's about. It's about demonstrating the fact that a person applying for their files is not doing so just so they can get a pile of paper at the end of a process. It's so they can access those details that are fundamental to their life and transitions in and through the care system. And often it's a significant part of who you are when you become an adult. Let me point this out to you. If you was living at home with mum and dad and you wanted to go to the photo album, you could go to the photo album and you could ask questions about the people in that album, and mum and dad would give you answers. Well, therefore, that file is effectively that photo album if you've grown up in the care system, and you should be able to go back to corporate parent, mum and dad, and ask questions about what is in that file that relates to your time in care. Hence the title, My Life, My History. Now, this campaign is taken forward by ourselves, the Care Leavers Association, British Association of Adoption and Fostering, Barnardo's, the Post Care Forum, and Association for Child Abuse Lawyers. We've come together as a consortia led by and supported by the parliamentarian Baroness Lola Young of Hornsey to try to drive forward a campaign that takes the guidance that the DFE have already published forward and presents it to practitioners such as yourselves, but also ensures that there is recognition of the needs of older care leavers in terms of them accessing the files and the support and guidance they need, and which is essential to the process.
Today we're doing an interview on accessing care files. My name is Daniel Julius.
My name is Sam David.
And we're interviewing, what is your name?
Karen Leonard.
How old are you?
I'm 41.
May I ask where you're from?
I was born in Bradford but always lived in Huddersfield.
At what point in your life did you start thinking about accessing your files?
I was around 35, 36 when I first went to apply.
Was there a big gap between thinking about it and doing it?
When I first applied at 36, I didn't get no care file through. I got other information. So I left it, but then it played on my mind, so at 40, I went back and applied for my actual files.
How did you find out about how to do it?
Through the CLA, the Care Leavers Association.
Was it very helpful?
Yeah, it pointed me in all the directions, told me what I needed to do, which forms needed to be filled out, and offered me support all the way through from beginning to end. Started in April of last year, which is 2014. I got some of my records through in the August of that year, and I am this week going to collect some more of my records on Friday.
What kind of support did you get in the process of accessing your files?
I've been supported by the CLA, being told I can ring, I can have somebody to come along with me if that's needed. By Kirklees and the data protection itself, absolutely no support whatsoever.
Did it all meet your expectations?
A lot was there that I expected to be there, but there was also a lot that I'd forgot or had been hidden and I'd not known about, so there were some surprises along the way.
So how do you feel now that you've read your file?
Better. A lot of the questions that I couldn't answer before, I've been able to answer, and certain bits of my life what have obviously been blocked out or with age you start forgetting have been filled in. So I've got a better understanding of what my childhood was like now.
You feel a lot happier now, yeah.
It makes me feel better that I know what we're going on.
Yeah.
So what kind of support do you think people should get when they're accessing the files?
I do think the Data Protection Office should supply you with a support worker from the beginning to the end with maybe a helpline, because I was at home, my children had gone to bed reading them records at 9, 10, 11 o'clock. There's nobody to speak to them. It'd be better if there was like a phone line that you could ring up, somebody to talk to. Some of the things you find in your file.
Express your views.
are very dark and can be very upsetting, and you need to speak to somebody there and then to relieve your fears and your stresses. So I do believe the care tree should have supplied me with a support worker throughout and made sure that before they left I was satisfied with everything that I've gone through, and there was additional services there in case I did need it at a later date.
How long roughly is it took to receive your files?
I first applied 11th of April 2014. First got some part of my file in August of 2014, which was well over the 40 days. It was 84 days before I received my first piece of information. At that point, it was me constantly ringing up, or the CLA ringing up the data protection to find out what was happening with my information, to be told an array of lies and excuses. At the minute now, it's April 2015, and I'm going to pick some more up this Friday, but it isn't the entire case. It isn't the entire file, it's just a small part of it again.
So how long now? How long has it been now?
A year in total. We're coming up to a year and a month, and I'm still going to have to reapply when I go down on Friday for the rest of my file, because I've only got about 4 years out of 16 years of going in and out of the care system.
Do you think there's a suitable age where the government should just give you your file after you've left care?
I think when you leave care, you should get a support worker with your social worker, your leaving care worker, and you should be sat down then, and the file should be made available to you if that's what you choose to do, or it should be pointed out that that file will be put away somewhere safe and secure to the day that you want to be able to access it. You feel strong enough and able to be able to access that record.
What was your relationship with the council throughout trying to access your files?
It's not really a relationship, it's somebody at the end of the phone who they don't have an understanding of what receiving your care file feels like, the apprehension that you get from knowing that it's coming. So basically it was just somebody at the end of the phone, no support, no apologies, no nothing, just excuse after excuse of why somebody's not doing their job properly.
And how does that make you feel?
I was angry, particularly at one point where I was told they was moving officers and my care file was in a box on the floor somewhere and nobody could locate it, which then made me feel like, well, how many people have looked at it? How many people could have gone through that box? How many people could have read my personal information? That's quite sacred to me. I don't want other people reading it that don't need to be. So the relationship, there wasn't a relationship, it was a service.
Do you think there's anything better they could have done to help access to your file?
Yeah, there's a lot they could have done. They could have kept me more up to date instead of me having to ring them constantly to find out what was going on. They could have informed me when it got to the 40 days, 38 days, and they knew it weren't ready. Somebody could have informed me. It was me having to ring up again on the 40th day to be told, well, we're nowhere near and we still haven't found it and we still haven't got it. So yeah, there needs to be more from the Data Protection Service in contacting and reassuring.
Do you have a final message that you could send the local authorities about accessing your file?
I think the local authorities need to be more attentive. They need to pay more attention and be more understanding. It's your life they've got in their hands, and when you're waiting for information like this, then 40 days, it's not days, it seems like years. It's a long time. The pressure that's put on you while you're waiting for that file, it's not good.
Today I'm doing an interview on accessing your care files. My name is Daniel Dewhurst, and what is your name?
My name's Chris.
And how old are you?
I'm 25 years old.
Where are you from?
I'm from Huddersfield.
Are you aware you have the right to access your care files?
I am now, but I didn't know about accessing my care files till I became aware of the CLA, Care Leavers Association. And once I was aware of them and learning what they do, I learned about accessing my care files. But previous to that, I never knew nothing, no social workers, anybody had ever mentioned anything. I didn't even know what my care file was. I signed my case closed and that was it. I've never heard anything from
You're
them.
quite shocked when you found this information?
I am quite shocked, yeah. It's a lot of information. All my care experience is in these files, you know. I didn't know about the files, where they stored. I don't know anything about them. I think personally they should be, you know, making it a little bit more clear to young people, you know, that they can access the care files, what's in the care files, the protocols to go for it, where I can be guided for support to do that if I felt to do that.
Do you have anything to send a message towards these social workers about not telling people?
Well, the only experience I've really had with my care files is when I got into a relationship with my current girlfriend and we started to have a baby. She became pregnant, we was due to have a baby, and I wasn't in care at this time, but the local authority came to my girlfriend's property without me knowing and divulged things in my file that I didn't really even understand or know about, but they divulged them to her to make her aware of my care experience and possible risks that I could pose to our future child. So that's the only experience I've had of dealing with it, and obviously it didn't give me a very good experience. It wasn't good to come home to my girlfriend very shocked to telling me things that happened in my childhood, you know, very private things for me, very things that I wouldn't want anybody seeing, you know. It's not good to think that a social worker might be walking around with my file in her hand, just opening it and showing people when I don't even know what's in it.
Are you in the process of accessing your files?
I'm not in the process at the moment of accessing files, 'cause I don't think at this moment in my life is the right time. There's a lot of things in care files I would imagine that may be unsettling, and you know, it's just not the right time for me. I will do it one day.
What is your name?
Daniel Dewhurst.
How old are you, Daniel?
I'm 24 years of age.
And where are you from?
I'm from Manchester, but I've lived most of my life in Stockport.
And at what point in your life did you start thinking about accessing your care files?
Well, I actually never even known about accessing your care files. My social worker never told me, no one did, until I got put onto a course with someone called Darren Coyne, the CLA, and basically he told me about you have the right to access your care files. So I was quite shocked, to be honest, because I never knew before that.
Was there a big gap between thinking about it and doing it?
No, there wasn't. I just wanted to do it straight away because I might as well get it over and done with. If I'm going to do it at some point in my life, I might as well do it quicker than later.
How did you find out about how to do it? I mean, the processes, you know, the first application.
Basically, Darren Coyne told me you can send a letter off applying for your care files. I received a letter back saying I should receive it in 48 days, which I think 48 days, I think it was like, it's been 4 months now and I've still not received my files. They said I've got 7 files to collect, so they've got to go through all of them. And then they're on the 2nd month, so I've just got to wait until they do it, so it might take about 6 months, to be honest.
What kind of support did you get in the process?
No support, nothing. Just absolutely nothing. Maybe a phone call once every 2 weeks to say that they've been through one file, so they've got to go on to the next one.
Do you feel you could have gave you more support?
Yeah, a lot more support, because it's lucky that I'm the type of person who I am, because there's a lot of people a lot different who can't handle situations like that, and they might just go and commit some crime or hurt someone or hurt themselves. But good job I'm the person who I am today, I'm responsible. I just see it as you've done more than a life sentence in care, and then they sign your file, and then you signed out, and they hide rights from you. They never got me a flat when I left care or stuff like that. They never, when I went to prison, I was entitled to money every week. They never even told me that until 6 months down the line, and someone told me, and then I got onto my social worker. So it's all corrupted, I think. It's all to do with money. As soon as you get signed out of the book, you should be given a mentor, and I reckon they should support you till like early 30s on various things about accessing files. How about if you want to go to college, if you want to do driving, just basically normal support, because people who have lived their life the majority of life in care, we've lived in different societies, so we view the world totally different than the normal people who've been grown up in school.
Why are you applying for your files?
So I can, as soon as I get my files, I can go to the solicitors and sue some people, because like most people in care, people have been abused, like myself, and I just want to sue some people and expose them because it's not right. Something needs to be done about it because I never had a choice about it happening or not. So that's the reason why I'm getting my files. And basically a lot of hidden information on my life. I'm confused about a lot of stuff. There's a lot of blurs, like at the beginning of my life up to about, all I can remember is basically feel like I'm waking up when I'm about 5-6 years of age. It's blurry.
So how does it feel not knowing a lot about yourself?
Well, I've not really got the information yet, but as soon as I do, I'm prepared to take anything what hits me because I'm strong-minded and it doesn't really bother me.
And do you think there should be some support for when you get that information? When you've got your file in front of you, do you think?
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like I say again, I'm lucky than the type of person I am because there's people out there who are totally different, who are mental health and dyslexic, and you know what I mean, and they need support. Like if they get the files and something hits them, they can go and top themselves, or they won't be able to handle that truth hitting them.
What is your name?
My name's Ibrahim Maynard.
And how old are you, Ibrahim?
I'm 56.
And where have you grew up? Where are you from?
I'm from Bradford.
Yeah.
So yeah, just with regards to the care file, at what point in your life did you start thinking about accessing your care files?
I was in children's home for many years, and then I was involved in the CARES group, which was an organisation for people in care, and through them they were looking at access to files. So it's from that I knew that there was a thing about accessing my files. But it wasn't until about 21, 22 that I decided to pursue it with the director of Bradford Social Services. And I just wrote to him, and I was able to see my file with the social worker that used to be involved with me when I was younger. So that was quite useful actually.
So was there a big gap between thinking about it and doing it?
There was a bit of a gap. It was a thing of, do I want to, what I'm going to find, what do I want? Part of the reason I did want to look at my file was I'd started to write about my life in care, my own book, autobiography, which I still hadn't done. But that was part of the things. I felt there was like a jigsaw with certain things missing. And I was told information by my mum and information by my dad, and certain things didn't tally up. So when I actually saw my file for the first time, I was able to understand the different children's homes I was in, and how many being in, and how many social workers I'd had. And then I was able to understand a bit about my dad and my mum. Because one of the things that I found out that I didn't know is that my dad was trying to get hold of me when I was a baby, when I was very young. And he used to be called children's, not children's, it's called Welfare Children's Department, and wouldn't let him contact me. So I didn't actually see him until I was about 6-year-old, and that was only through my mum. So the file was quite useful because it confirmed that my dad had tried to contact the department, but for some reason they hadn't let him know where I am. So he kept saying, you know, you were in Halifax, and I said, well, I wasn't in Halifax. He said, yeah, he was. And it wasn't until the second time I actually went to see my file. So I did see my file initially, but then I saw my file again because there was all this issue around Halifax, and I didn't understand it. And basically I was fostered when I was about 1-2-year-old with this foster carer. Yeah, I went into a chemist and I met this woman who said that I know you used to live in Halifax with this foster carer who was a friend of mine. I said, I don't remember being in foster care or being in Halifax at all. But then in the back of my mind, I remember my dad saying something about Halifax, and said that about I was in Halifax. Anyhow, she took my number and got the lady to ring me. Eventually she rang me and I didn't go see her for a while because it was, I don't know, I just had my son and I just felt it was difficult at the time. I had to get my head around, who this lady was. Eventually she actually, I did write, she gave me her address and I wrote to her. And she wrote back and she said, that her husband had just died, so I missed him. And could she be a grandma to my son? So I found that quite touching really, and eventually it was through that I actually went to see her. And as soon as I saw her, we were just in tears. Because, she apparently had been told that I died. And apparently I left her when I was about 2.5, 3 years old. Because I was very ill with encephalitis meningitis. And I'd been taken to hospital in Bradford. But for some reason, she'd been told that I wasn't alive. So when she saw me, she said, "You've not changed at all. You're the same little boy that I used to remember." And I was just so interested about a few things that, like I used to like trains and going on trains. And apparently they used to have a train set, one of them big model train things. And so I should just play that all the time. So it was fantastic. She had lots of parrots and cats and stuff. But it was really good. But to me, it was like, that wasn't clear in my file, and no one had ever told me about what I was. It clear that that's what happened when I was young. So I found out, so I actually went to see my file again to check this out about being ill and about being fostered with his family. And apparently she was actually going to adopt me. And she did actually show me the adoption papers. She got ready to adopt me. So it was a big upheaval for me really to understand that this part of my life I didn't know or understand about, and all of a sudden I knew that I was about 30. So that was a good part. So yes, so seeing my file the second time was quite useful because I actually saw it with a worker that I worked with who was in the children's services, who was a senior manager, who knew me and was able to go through things with me. One of the good things about that was that he was able to show me quite a bit more on my file. And there were certain things like, unfortunately because my mum had died, they were able to give me information about my mum as well, which apparently couldn't do if someone deceased in your family. Which was quite interesting because there's some stuff in there about my mum which I didn't know about her illness, which was quite a bit upsetting that, it said that my mum was very ill and that's why she wasn't able to care for me, which is why I went into care. Partly to do with that, but partly because my mum had me to a black guy, and basically her husband was not happy that I was black, basically. He just said to the hospital when I was born, apparently he said to the hospital, and this is in my file as well, that he didn't want that black bastard in his house. So I was put under a safety order quite quickly. So that's why I actually went into care. So I found that information out as well, which was good, but it had a lot of effect in terms of my life. So I did see my mum when I was 6, and I actually went to live with her for a year, but it didn't work out for various problems.
So how did you go about finding out, getting your file, and how did you do it?
Well, as I said before, it was through Who Cares and NAPIC as well. One of the things we did was about access to files, is letting young people have, or know about, can get access to the files.
Yeah.
At the time it was like access to information, it wasn't as structured as it is now in terms of the need and importance of young people having information about their background, about where they were from, who am I, what am I, where am I from, and that's something that young people need to know. And for young people like me who I felt there was a bit of an identity issue for me because I was of two different parents, black parent and white parent, so there were a lot of issues around identity. So I needed to understand about my identity. And so through the Napier Who Cares, it was important that young people were able to know that they can go to the director to get access to the files. I know that's changed now, the system's a bit more changed, and there is either a number that you have to ring or you can write to a specific address. Napier National Association of Young People in Care, it's set up in 1979, which was an offshoot of Who Cares, which was basically that young people were not happy with their situation, and there were a lot of issues around access to files. There were a lot of issues around the clothing order book, because in our days you had a clothing order book where you weren't allowed to go into shops with this book to get clothes, purchase books, with a clothing order book to purchase clothes. And the only thing was that, like, you see this group of young children coming in to a shop and say, oh, they're from an orphanage or they're from a children's home or that place. Because we used to have gabardines, used to be really identified with gabardines or duffel coats. And we just said the order book has to close and we need to stop using the order book because it puts people down, really. At the end of the day, we have a right to be like anybody else, to be able to go into shops with money and buy clothes. So that was one of the big things, that was a massive big thing that Napier did. The access to file was another thing, but the leaving care was another part, because again, in my day, when I left care, I remember signing £80 as leaving care grant, which is a lot different now. But we felt that leaving care was a massive issue, that young people leaving care needed more support. Some young people leaving at 16 and weren't supported at all. So we felt it was very important that young people had the support from particular workers, which eventually has changed, but it's taken a long time.
So how long did the process take from you thinking about files to applying for them to leaving them, etc.?
It took a few years, really. From applying for them to when I wrote to the director, it took not long, really. It was finding out who was going to do it with me, and there's a guy called Chris who used to be my social worker, and he just arranged and wrote to me and said, you know, you can see your files and come and see them with me. I only actually saw my file though with him. I read through my file with him and he went through any particular things that I was not happy about. At that point, which was interesting, I didn't actually get a file. It was only later on that I actually got my file when I went back and saw this other worker and got access to my file. And they actually gave me quite a big arch folder of all my information.
So what kind of support did you get in the process?
I think one of the things I've always said, and I found it quite useful, is because I saw it with Chris, who used to be a social worker, he knew me and he knew my mum, so he knew the situation about me, and I found that quite helpful. I think when you get access to your files and there's nobody there who you know or who can relate and understand, it's very difficult because they're not able to understand some of the ways that some of the stuff were written, because in the old days, you see, they were written, it's all handwritten, and the way that people wrote, a bit like doctors, you know, just writing anything, it's like understanding what it said. Because he knew quite a bit about my life and about the different sort of times that I was in different children's homes, he was able to relate that back to me and help me understand that. So that was very helpful. I do find it difficult today that people get access to the files, that there needs to be more supported, if possible by someone that they know, but if not, they need to have some sort of support structure that is helpful by either a particular worker who works only with access to files, but has an understanding of what that means to that person, young person, because it's about having that connection. You know, if you've got a person who just writes the file and just does all the stuff with the file, within whatever days they do it, and then gives it to the young person. It's like, well, what is this? What does it mean? Because to me, I wouldn't have liked to go my father seen like that. I wanted to go through it. And with the second person that I went through it with, we had 2 sessions to go through it. And part of that was because they had to check out whether I was legally able to get the access to my mother's information, which was fine. I accepted that, I understood that. But you know, I was able to in the end. That was good. It was very useful to get it, and I still got it now. I know the young people that were able to get access to files. I know the young people that had difficulties in getting access to the files. But you know, to me, there was a lot of stuff. Even though I started off by saying I was trying to write a book, which I still would like to do about my life in care from my own perspective. So a lot of information that I've got from the file, I can use that to do that in the file, from the file into the book. So I've got that. I just haven't got around to connecting how I'm going to do that. I know a lot of people have done books, and so I'm sort of looking at that sort of idea.
So are you published?
No, I'd like to write it first. I've wrote the stuff I wrote from my own perspective when I was in the children's home. Part of that was because of the things I didn't like with the anti-uncles, as we used to call them nowadays. So I used to write down, instead of getting angry with particular stuff, I used to write down and say I hate that person and stuff. So the things I wrote down, and it became a book of different things that happened in my life. And there were good things about when we used to go to Blackpool every year.
So it's like a diary.
Yeah.
If you could give one message to practitioners about people accessing the care files, what would you say?
I'd say that all young people need to have access to files. It's very important. It's there. It's about their life. It's about helping them with their own identity as well, about who they are, where they are, where they came from. Because a lot of information in that file is important to that young person, and they need that. As I said before, it would be helpful to have someone that they can go through it with, who's going to be supportive to them, and help them understand and can connect with them as well in an understanding way. I'm not happy at the way at the moment that some people get access files while they're writing a letter to get the files. Someone gets the file, starts going through it. If they want specific things, sometimes, because that's what I say, well, there's specific things you want. Well, to me, there were specific things initially that I wanted, but when I realised I really wanted it all, because I really want to know a lot of things, there were a lot of things still missing. So the second time, that gave me all that. But to me, should I had to wait a while longer to realise that? To me, I should be able to get it at one time. So I think young people need to have access to all the file and be able to see it all. I can understand that certain things have to be scrubbed out and stuff in terms of third party, but they need to have someone who is able to go through it with them, who really has this understanding of files.
And if I was a young person going to get my files tomorrow, is there any advice you could give me? Is there anything you could give me to maybe make it easier, or?
I'd just say, make sure you get all what you want. There is something I did miss actually in that some young people, because they're in local authority care, there's a local authority care file. Now actually I was for a short time in Catholic care. I am still pursuing that at the moment, because apparently there's a separate file with Catholic care, which I am still pursuing. So it's important to be aware of this as well, be aware of where you were in care and who's got your files, and if there are files that some other organisations got, whether it's Bernardo's, NCH, Children's Society, Catholic Care or whatever, then you need to try and make sure you get all the information, because it's really important. But yeah, make sure, don't feel upset about your file. It can be upsetting, don't get me wrong, it can be. Certain things that you learn about, you think, I don't remember that, or that was a bit unnerving for me. But at the end of the day, that's why I say if you have someone who can help you go through that, that's better to do that. Because there are things you might find out about your mum, or your dad, or your grandparents, you know, or it might be the thing about, you know, your mother didn't want you, and she put you into care. And it's like, you sort of, that feeling is like, well, it's how she felt. But you've got to understand what happened in them days. I do understand what was going on in my mum's life in her days and why the situation happened. And yes, I could have said, well, she should have fought her husband and said, no, I'm going to have my child at home. But the situation was difficult then, and there were a lot of issues.
I have reason to believe you were a leaving care worker. Could you explain that a bit further?
Yeah, one of the good things for me is that I always wanted to work in the care system because I wanted to give back something that I had not had. And one of the good things as well that a social worker said to me was, don't go straight back into the care system, go out and do something different. So I actually became a gardener, and I was a gardener for about 4 or 5 years, and then I went to learn about gardening. And then I still decided that I wanted to come back into it, into some sort of youth work in that. So I actually worked in youth work. And then eventually there was a job working in a children's home, and I applied for it and got it. And from then on, I just went through the system of working with young people in children's homes. And then eventually I got on a diploma in social work course, and then became a leaving care worker in Bradford. And that was really good, because I am able to relate things to young people from my own background, but I think things have changed a lot. There's a lot of changes that have happened.
So would you explain to a young person how to go about getting the file?
Yeah, I would always explain, I would always tell young people to access the files. That's something I think is very important, even from a worker. I think it's important that they have a right to access their information. Hopefully through their reviews and various things, we should ensure that they have information from that, whether it's a pathway plan or whatever, they should be having that information anyhow. But in terms of their file, then they should have a right to see that file and information about, again, it might be about the parents or why they came into care or what the issues were.